Hello everyone and welcome back to Investigative Selfism. Today's topic, let me tell you, is something very light, very joyous, still with applicable frameworks and tools that I wanted to share with you, but it's on something that's so pleasant, I think, and something that is definitely not only very dear to my heart, but something that has definitely shaped me a lot as a person. And that is the topic of travels. So I don't talk about it often in my life because there is a risk of seeming arrogant and saying it's a privileged topic because not everyone gets to travel much, and I understand that. And I wanted to very quickly say two things. One, the very context of my life. Yes, I've been moving around, switching countries and continents quite often for the last more than 15 years now. And as I write in my story on my website, that it started from a very humble place, like a working class family in a post-Soviet village in Lithuania. So obviously seeing the world was a dream. It was always a dream of mine. Like the places I would read in my geography classes, I never thought I would see even a small fraction of them and a small fraction of what I have seen by now. So that's why, even though I have done a lot of moving around using the means that I could, right? Never traveling in any kind of fancy way, even though that's fine. I understand that it's not accessible to everyone, of course, or it's accessible to different stages of our lives and to different extents. But the second thing I wanted to say, that when I talk about now, today, about travels, it's also about any experience that you find to be very exciting, that you don't do maybe very often, but something that you would like to do more often, something that gives you lots of joy and puts you in a really good state. So that doesn't have to be traveling, but for me, it's very clearly traveling. And what I want to talk about today, I definitely want to take out the joy. Like, hey, let's deconstruct. Why is a fun experience fun? Like, that doesn't sound really fun, but a couple of thoughts how we can very productively, like very nice and beautiful way, how we can deconstruct that. And what I think that deconstruction is asking ourselves several questions. I don't know why it took me more than 30 years to ask these questions to myself, but I remember very clearly I was walking in Alexandria, which is a, historic city in Egypt, almost exactly a year ago. And I was there alone. I really like to travel alone. I think at this stage of my life, it's either this or just like seeing my old friends. Anyway, and I was just feeling so excited. The views were amazing from my tiny Airbnb. And I was making, my brain, right, which almost cannot stop making comparisons, was making comparisons of, oh my God, this looks very Soviet suddenly, my upbringing. And then, oh no, it looks like a mix actually between Soviet architecture and Latin American views. Anyways, I was just really in the experience. And I was thinking, what is it really? What is it about the place or about traveling itself that gives me so much joy? And sometimes it's not about the place, right? I mean, many things can be about the place, of course. Hey, extra sunlight has an effect on our nervous system, and how we're being stimulated. Like, of course, there are actual neurobiological effects. But I think there's something more, right, when we're in this extraordinary experience. And for me, and maybe that's how it is for you as well, it's also how I am in that experience. For example, I'm not very observant in general, but when I'm traveling, I'm a bit more observant. So I'm noticing the small things, like small details. I take photos. I'm quite smiley in general. I smile even more. I want to explore. I'd be like, I'll go on a walk in the evening. Let's do this. So I'm very present. I'm very observant. I do see and appreciate the small things, even more than in my regular life, so to speak. I also appreciate an oftentimes very humbling experience when you're trying to speak the language and you don't speak it well and, sound a bit like an idiot, but it's fun. Even though I do live usually in places where I'm still learning the language, so that sounding like an idiot might be my everyday experience, yes. So these are the things, and these are very easy for me to deconstruct and to notice. And then I was thinking, well, If it's about how I am in a certain place, can I maybe bring it? Can I bring it to when I'm home? And it's difficult, of course. It's difficult because the stimulation isn't there, right? The environment plays a role. But can I be more intentional with how I am when I'm at home, so to speak? And I think the answer is yeah, of course I can. And then another question to ask that's maybe underneath, yeah, it's a bit more profound, is what are the needs that I'm meeting when I'm traveling? I'm like this, I'm more present, more observant. What needs am I meeting? And for me, very clear, it's that variety. There are lots of new things to see, so there's more variety. I do feel more connected to myself and others, and I'm so present, so that need is met. Do I feel sometimes maybe a bit more significant? Because look at me, I'm traveling. Secretly, maybe. So what is that? What needs am I meeting through travels, which is a great format, I think, for me to meet them? How could I be meeting them at home? I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but you can say, oh, can I try different foods more often? Probably I can. Or, cook them at home because it's cheaper, of course. Could I go explore places in my town that I haven't seen yet? To feel more connected and more present, maybe I could establish, finally in my life, a mindfulness practice. Or put more effort into reconnecting with old friends, for example. So that extraordinary experience, it's still extraordinary, but I want to take that. I want to take that spark and sort of expand it so that it includes the times that I'm not in that experience. It doesn't have to be traveling, but what is that special experience for you? Something that brings you lots of joy and excitement, and something that you think you can only get somewhere else, that you think the emotions you generate, the state you're in, you can only get when you're in certain conditions. What is that? And can you have more of it in your everyday life? I think it's not easy, but it definitely comes with more intentionality. A bit of deconstruction, yes, and then being more intentional with what we're bringing to the world, with how we are, how we want to feel every day, right? That's kind of one of the cornerstones of just being mindful, being aware, being intentional. And yes, being intentional with creating things, states, emotions that are really beautiful. So I hope you take the moment, and I hope you do that.